girl, she was little and low. Used to love mean, but she don't no more. You gotta step it up and go. And go. Well, you can't stay in padlock, so you got to step it up and go. Got a little girl, she stays upstairs. Try to make a living by putting on ass. You got to step it up and go. Yeah.
Oh, you got to step it up.
Well, you can't stay in padlock, so you got to step it up and go. Play it for me now. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, sure. Front door shut, back one two, blind pull down, what you wanna do, wanna step it up and go, and go. Well, you can't stay in padlock.
I'd like to talk to you about some of the simple pleasures I get out of building dry stack stone wall here where we live in Northern Virginia. I've been building and rebuilding broken down walls since about 1990, first as a spare time cleanup project and then as a passion. We're going to talk about the basic principles of dry stack stone wall. There are 4 or 5 principles. It's not complex, but it takes practice. We'll talk about how you decide where to put a wall, where you get the rock and how you sort it, what kind of tools you use to build dry stack stone wall. We'll talk about how you prepare the trench for the wall, dig it out, and lay the foundation. We'll talk about putting the largest, heaviest, bulkiest stones in the foundation and how you do that, and how you build up the wall course by course. We'll talk about the importance of filling or hearting the wall and how you use tie stones to knit the wall together. We'll talk about how and why you put capstones on top of the wall to keep the water out and to tie it all up. I'm a self-taught amateur, but while I was working on this project, I consulted with several professional stonemasons to learn from them and get their views. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy the sound of hammer on rock and the sound of the music that makes this work flow smoothly for me. You can think about the wall as a living thing riding on the back of the earth. A dry stack stone wall is by definition loose. It doesn't use mortar to hold it together. And that means it will subside and settle with gravity and with the effects of water, the heaving of freezing, heating and cooling and the swelling. And you want to build a wall that is knit together and locked together so that as it settles in, it becomes stronger and not weaker. You really need to think of it as kind of a living thing. It is not like a poured concrete slab that is not going anywhere. You will have animals, snakes, squirrels, groundhogs, bugs of all kinds in nature in the wall, and you've got the effect of wind and water and vibration. One of the worst threats for stone wall is the vibration from cars and vehicles. That's why a lot of the walls along the sides of roads have fallen down. But it's really a living thing.
This old hammer, it killed John Henry. Ain't gonna kill me, ain't gonna kill me. 9-pound hammer, it's a little too heavy for my side, but if on my side. Now roll on, buddy, pull your load of coal. How can I pull when the wheel won't go?
So what are the basic principles of building this stone wall? Well, first of all, you've got to have a solid level foundation. And when I say level, I mean level as measured by a line level, not going along with the slope of the ground. We're trying to keep this wall, particularly since it's built on a slope, level as it goes up, because gravity is always at work on the wall, and it's going to bring the wall down if you're not level in any direction. The second thing you want to do is you want to knit the rocks together by having each rock touch as many other rocks as possible. You sometimes refer to this principle as 1/2, 2/1. Smaller stones covered by a larger stone, a row of smaller stones, a large one followed by some smaller stuff. The result of this is that you never have a time where you have the joints between the stones running through successive courses of the wall. And you always want to knit the wall together. To the extent possible, you want to have the long face of a stone going into the wall. It may seem good to have it along the outside of the wall for a longer face, but in reality, this structure will knit that rock back into the center of the wall and work to hold the wall together. This is fundamentally a stronger wall because it's binding towards the center of the wall. When a wall is being built faster, typically people will tilt the rock up on its side against the side of the wall, so that if you have a rock that's shaped like this, and it has a square end, I would put the length into the wall because that holds the wall together. But people will often run the long side out, which means less going into the wall but a nice flat face, or they'll turn it up on their side, in which event you've got a whole lot of flat rock and it looks really nice. But that is the least stable type of construction. If that wall pops out, the whole thing comes down. Perfect little tie stone right there. Just fits nice and level, knits the wall together.
Say, babe, did you get my letter? Will you take me back? I'll treat you better. Nobody's business but mine.
Why build dry stack stone wall? Well, I mean, it's really hard work. I mean, you can hire somebody to do that, but that costs money. For me, the process is really its own reward. I'm working outside with my hands in the open air, and I'm feeling the texture of the rocks and soil under my fingers. And of course, you get at the end as a bonus a stone wall, which neatens up a big pile of rock and sometimes can almost be a form of art. But then the relationship between the music and the stone wall is a lot harder to explain. But you know, the world is really a noisy place, and silence is really a precious commodity these days. But I think if I was out there working on the wall hour after hour with total silence, it would be too much silence. And this is really hard work, and you have to pace yourself and get into a rhythm to do it. And that's where the music comes in. The music is like a river of sound. You just jump in and you flow along. Years ago, when people mostly did manual labor, they'd sing songs or hymns. You might have somebody singing for a whole group of people working, or they'd chant simple songs to set a rhythm for the work. And if you're working to a rhythm, you can relax, and it governs your pace. You're not worried about how quick or slowly you're working. You can just get the rhythm and work along.
I'm going to do that and get me a mojo hand. I'm going to do that and get me a mojo hand. I'm going to fix my woman so she can't have no other man. Cold ground was my bed last night. Rock was my pillow too. Cold ground was my bed last night. Rock was my pillow too. I woke up this morning, I wondering, what am I gonna do? I laid down thinking, find me a mojo hand. I laid down thinking, find me a mojo hand.
Today we are going to lay the foundation for building a 50-foot section of stone wall 4 feet high in this corner of our yard. There's a number of things involved. We've got to clear some brush. We've got to take out this old compost heap that's been sitting here for years. There's a couple small trees that need to be removed, cut down, roots pulled out. We've got to set some of these stakes to define the inside of the line of the stone wall here at various points, put a line between those, level up that line, throw the rock out of the way for the new trench.
I'm sitting here a-wondering, would a matchbox hold my clothes? I'm sitting here wondering, would a matchbox hold my clothes? I ain't got no matches, but I sure got a long way to go. I'm an old poor boy who's a long, long way from home. I'm an old poor boy who's a long, long way from home.
The first step in starting this brand new wall project is to set the iron pipe that will be the corner of it. And we're going to set it right precisely where I had the surveyors survey. I told them, make this the corner of the yard. And they surveyed a 200-foot line straight in that direction. And they set iron pipe, and they did 200 feet in that direction. It's not a right angle, because this old yard is not a right angle. I thought it was, but it's not. But we're going to define the corner and follow a straight line and measure to that line.
I want to be your sidetrack, baby, till your main line comes.
I want to tie these blueberry bushes off just to get them out of the way.
Your main line ever done.
Oh man, look at these blueberries.
Let me be your little dog.
That's a nice thing about building a wall in the summertime. Oh man, these are good. You really have to think about most of the fruit that you get in the grocery store is ripened chemically over the last 2 weeks on the freight car, something like that. You never eat fresh fruit. Put up a heavier rope, probably will as we start construction of the wall. But the first thing is to define a straight line that will represent the inside of the wall. The wall will be on the outside of this straight line. The base of the wall I want to be 42 inches wide. The wall will be 48 inches high. There, from the ground, is 48 inches. That's how high we want the wall. Ordinarily, the base would be equal to the wall, so you'd ordinarily have a base of 48 inches wide, which would be to here. Okay, so this is 48 inches. I want to move that in slightly to 42 inches, simply because of the quantity of rock that's involved in that extra 6 inches. But to just see what the task is here, here's the 42-inch line. So all rock that is going to impede me from putting that string up and then digging a trench, all this rock has to be removed. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is with building stone wall. You never want to throw the rock farther than you have to. We started putting up this wall before the surveyors came. Once they came, in areas down there, the rock, and far over there, is outside of the proposed line. But the immediate task is, I don't know, 20 or 30 tons of rock that need to be moved out of the way. The thing about the old-time music is that it You just get to listening to the rhythm of those old songs and get in a zone. Absolutely a waking dream of just listening to the music, singing along with it, and just drifting off, picking rocks in time to it.
I am thinking tonight of an old cottage home that stands on the brow of the hill, where in life's early morning I once loved to roam, but now all is quiet and still. Oh, my old cottage home,
The human hand is a marvelous thing.
cottage home that stands on the brow of the hill.
I'll go a couple years without building a wall, and I have been building a wall for a few months. My wrists are visibly larger. My forearms, my shoulders look like Popeye. The main constraint in building stone wall is you gotta have rock to do it. Although it looks like we've got a tremendous amount of rock here, this wall is going to take much more than the rock we have here. We'll have to import some rock from a big rock pile about 300 yards that way. That we're going to bring in after we get the trench dug. We're going to bring in a bunch of rock in the bucket of a tractor. We're going to be looking for the biggest rock we can find.
That stands on the brow of the hill, where in life's early morning I once
Down further. Now come in. Okay, good, good.
One by one they have gone from that old cottage home.
Every rock has a face, pretty much. This one doesn't happen to. This is like a cannonball-shaped boulder that just belongs someplace in the middle of the wall. But most every rock has a face. I guess a round one could be said to have a round face.
Well, old cottage home, my old cottage home that stands on the brow of the hill, where in life's early morning I once loved to roam, but now all is quiet and still.
Building the wall actually is good for the hands. Makes them strong. They're harder. Already calloused. What a trip. Which way does that blood-red river run? Straight from my back porch out to the rising sun. Now that sliding delta, it runs right by my door. The sliding delta run right by my door. I'm going up the country, I ain't coming back no more. I'm going up the country, ain't coming back no more. I said I'm going up the country, baby, don't you wanna go? I'm going up the country, baby, don't you wanna go? All of the rock that we have here is rock that was thrown out of the field by farmers, I guess, to get it out of the way. They threw it over the side of the hill and forgot about it. And years ago, we discovered it. I had no idea how much rock was under here till we started cleaning this off and so forth to get rock to build the wall by the house. We're about a half a mile away from the house. It takes about 2 hours to fill a pickup load full of rock and take it back there and unload it at the stone wall by the house. We'll probably need 50 to 100 more pickup loads worth of rock to finish that wall. It's amazing to think about how some of these rocks got here. I don't know what kind of technology people were using or how they got this thing over here, but I don't think this is one that I'm going to be moving over to my stone wall.
I got to run to the camp, tell my brother Bill that the woman that he's loving still gonna get him killed. Now the dumper said to the loader, bring me 6 loads of clay. The blood red river sure is getting away.
When you listen to the music and just moving that rock, getting the exercise, and the sun's beating down on you, the fax, the email, the voicemails, that's a long ways away. I mean, it's a long ways away. And this whole idea that you have to be connected all the time. You have to be always on for your job or your family. I mean, yeah, everybody needs to work hard, but really the idea that you can't ever be out of contact is ridiculous. Everybody needs some time where they're just doing whatever they're doing.
Which way does that blood red river run? Straight from my back porch out to the rising sun.
I purposely saved this part of the wall to show you because this is an exceptionally difficult piece of wall. There are places here where the native bedrock is sticking out. We're on a tight slope. We've got the stumps of 2 or 3 dead trees to contend with. And you realize that although you typically lay an entire course of wall, 25 to 50 feet, at a given time, put in the foundation stones, and then build it up layer or course by course, you can't do that here on this slope. You've got to build this wall up to 2 or 3 feet high at this point just so that you can lay the foundation of this rock and then move up from there. You can see that we've stepped this out to build in steps, cutting the dirt with a hammer and trying to smooth it out as best I could. And what we want to do is focus on building the wall here up to the point where we can put the foundation at the next level.
Oh yes, she is a southern girl, and glory in the name, and boasted with far greater pride than glittering wealth or fame. She envies not the northern girl, her robes of beauty rare, though diamonds grace her snowy neck and pearls bedeck her hair. Hurrah, hurrah, for the sunny south so dear. 3 cheers for the homespun dress that southern ladies wear. Her homespun dress is plain and old, her hat's palmetto too, but then it shows what southern girls for southern rights will do. They've sent the bravest of our land to battle with the foe, and they will lend a helping hand. They love the South, you know. Hurrah, hurrah, for the sunny South so dear. 3 cheers for the homespun dress that southern ladies wear.
One of the first types of music that really reached out and grabbed me and that I listened to for hundreds of hours in the 90s before I took up playing the guitar is Civil War music. There's a guy named Bobby Horton who recorded, lives down in Alabama, I believe, recorded about a dozen albums of homespun songs of the Civil War, homespun songs of the Union Army, homespun songs of the CSA. And this guy's brilliant. I mean, he played all the instruments and he recorded all the songs, just multi-tracking it. And it's a really impressive body of work. He's still very active, and it's really fun to listen to these songs. They've got every emotion and theme you would expect: defiance, anger, sorrow, loss, homesickness. And most of them have fairly simple melodies. I mean, they were written and sung at a time when even printed sheet music wasn't that common, and most of the music of the people was oral tradition.
Long ago we were boys in the ranks, comrades, our hearts lying happy as the day. Cheeks were ruddy, eyes were bright, locks were dark, comrades as we marched from our homes far away. But now we are aged and gray, comrades, trials of life are nearly done. But to us, life's as dear as it was, comrades, when you and I were young.
I'm not the best dry stack stone wall builder in the world. I'm certainly not the best guitar player in the world. I'm not a good singer by any means. I'm not the best really at anything. But I'm out there, I put on my pants in the morning, and I go out and I do the best I can. We're going to be pulling this stump out of here today. What we need to do is take the rock from around the stump. We don't know how much work it's going to take when the tractor gets here. Even the ants who live in this stump. Let's see. I'm sorry to say that we're going to disturb a ecosystem here, it looks like to me. My.
Down in the wildwood, sitting on a log, a finger on the trigger and an eye on the heart. Honey, let me be your salted dog. Pulled the trigger, the gun went blam. I got spattered with bits of ham. Honey, let me be your salted dog. Let me be a salted dog, or I won't be your man at all. Honey, let me be your salted dog.
As wide as the log.
Let me be
Come on in.
salted
At
dog,
that angle.
or I won't be your man at all. Honey, let me be
We couldn't take this stump out before. There was too much rock around it. Had to build the wall, get rid of most of the rock. Now, we shall see.
When God made a woman, he made it kind of funny. He made her lips taste just like honey. Let me be a salted dog. Let me be your salted dog, or I won't be your man at all. Let me be your salted dog. I'm so glad the world is round up. Put it in here for us all. Let me be your salted dog.
Let's abandon that one. Not worth the effort. Go position up for that one. Move it. We're not going to do this one. Sometimes you have to give up. These stumps are in too hard. We may dig them out later, but I could spend the whole morning at it. Frankly, I thought they'd be more rotted down than that. But they're not happening right now. I started out with, okay, all these piles of loose rock that had fallen down, and what are you going to do with them? Some people haul the rock away or they sell it, but then you've got no wall. So the only thing is to you know, try and learn to rebuild the wall. That's what I was trying to do. And then I just found, and it's hard to articulate without sounding schmaltzy, what a fundamental pleasure it is to be handling this elemental material of nature and stacking it up in a pleasing way. I don't know, it's something that really works for me.
That's one of those basic activities that has to have an imprint from thousands of years of human history in our DNA and our genes, that we have been on Earth and handling stone for a long time. To be able to do that, any individual is tapping back into that unconsciousness. On top of that, I think there's just a real joy in seeing things come together, and you get an immediate response. It's either working or it's not working. And it's not just when it's working that things are good, because the challenge comes from recognizing how you could do something better. Mm-hmm. There are only a couple kinds of wallers, beginners and improvers. Building walls, I feel like I'm not the least bit shy about saying everyone should build stone walls.
There you go, I like that attitude.
Probably what I'm interested in promoting is dry stone walling as a practice, as a profession, just as a means to being on the land, to be able to spend time engaged in the landscape. It's always wonderful to get together with folks that are actively building. And as long as he's at it, I know that he's going to have more walls that he's going to want to show off and talk about and share. So it'll be a lot of fun to get back later and see what else he's been doing.
It gets habit forming. You go around the field, you find some rock. You throw the rock into the, you throw the rock onto the nearest rock to get it out of the way of the field. And you're driving along in your truck and you realize, there's some rock. I can use that rock for my stone wall. Get this back here. Look at those ants. The ants, they build their house there. Then I turn over the rock. They're scrambling to move the eggs. They're very unhappy. But those ants will get on you and start stinging you. I've already got them on me. Sting, sting, sting. Millions of ants. Go for it. What we're doing here today is putting down foundation stones. Great big ones. You come along here and dig a trench. Not too much of a trench because we don't get too much frost here. And then you start laying down the stones and putting in the biggest ones that you can find.
I'm very cold and hungry, sir. My clothes are worn and thin. I wander around from place to place. My daily bread I win. Don't never mind, sir, how I look. Don't swear at me or frown. Sell the morning paper, sir. My name is Jimmy Brown. Sell the morning paper, sir. My name is Jimmy Brown. Everybody knows I am the newsboy of the town. Was a drunkard, sir, heard my mother say, but I am helping mother, sir, as a journey on the way. I sell the morning paper, sir, my name is Jimmy Brown. Everybody knows I am the newsboy of the town.
we came out today to help Bob. He called me, I guess it's been several months ago, to talk about constructing walls. He seems to be very into it, and I think that's fabulous, just because a lot of these walls nowadays are just getting pushed up in piles and buried, and just through development. So anytime I think you have the opportunity to restore or even construct new, like we're doing here today, the methods of wall construction, I think you're saving a whole lot, and I think it's really neat to be involved in it. And he's been playing around with his walls for a long time, and I think he was just interested to get, you know, an opinion of somebody that maybe does it all day long, just to see their input and how it meshes with his. So I'm glad to be out here and involved with it today. It's really fun to be able to do a project like this where you can just get lost in what you're doing and turn off all the cell phones and the pagers or whatever you have, and just build a wall. You know, building a dry stack wall today is exactly like it was 1,000 years ago. I mean, not a whole lot has changed in that technology. So it's fun to be able to do that and know that it's going to be there for a long, long time. And you were talking about how you enjoy it and just getting in the zone. And I was watching it and I was thinking, man, that was me 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Now, you know, you're dealing with schedules and workman's comp and cash flow and bank notes and lawyers and and it's a business. And it's like, I forgot that it could be fun, maybe. I don't know.
When death's cruel hand I see, but when I am called, who will sing one song for me?
It's really weird after you've done this for a while and you get in this zone and you know, you pick up a rock and it just seems to know where to go. You know, I mean, not always.
Isn't that great?
But a lot of times it just like it drops from your hand into the place where a billion years ago it must have been planned. Here's your final resting place.
Long ago we were boys in the ranks, comrades, our hearts lying happy as the day. Cheeks were ruddy, eyes were bright, locks were dark, comrades as we marched from our homes far away. But now we are aged and gray, comrade, trials of life are nearly done. But to us life's as dear as it was, comrades, when you and I were young. Long ago we were marching away, comrades, our flags to the breeze gaily flung. Our bosoms were bare to the foe, comrades, when you and I were young. Up.
Yeah.
But now we are aged and gray, comrades, trials of life are nearly done. But to us life's as dear as it was, comrades, when you and I were young. Long ago we were camping in storms, comrades, our courage and muscles tautly strung. But no army could drive us away, comrades, when you and I were young.
We're here with Charles Howard of St. Louis.
That's right.
And Bishop Howard, who lives down in Willisville, not far away from me. Your family's been building stone wall in Loudoun County for a long time, hasn't it?
About 4 generations.
Well, how'd they get started, and what year would that be?
Well, my grandfather used to work with his grandfather down at Newstead Farm repairing stone walls. And then later on, I don't know, I guess about in the 50s, my grandfather started working with a contractor around Middleburg named Robert Palm.
Robert Palm.
He was the biggest contractor around in Loudoun County probably at that time. He employed about 60 men.
It's been the 40s, 50s, 60s?
Something like that.
60 men he had working for him?
Yeah, Robert Palm did. And then later on, my grandfather, he went out on his own, as him and my father.
So we were talking earlier, and I think what I mentioned to you, Charles, is that I build a wall that's generally 36 inches wide at the base, 36 inches high at the top, and 18 inches wide at the top.
Yes.
And you build, I think, a narrower, higher wall. Is that right?
Yeah, some walls I've seen foundation is about roughly 32 inches wide, and they can vary when you get at the top. Some of them I've seen are about 12 to 16 inches wide.
Man, that's a narrow, tight wall. You got to be more talented than me to build that. But how do you get a wall that narrow to stay up? I mean, what are the principles you're thinking about?
Well, every time you put a rock in the wall, you got to put a thin rock on the inside of it to keep it level.
So what this one is 42 inches wide at the base. It's the widest wall I've ever built by far, but what I want to do is take it up to 4 feet, and I've never built a wall that high. And, you know, I'm just an amateur guy, so, you know, I need more batter, I think, than most guys. Although I'm getting better, but mostly when I get better, it shows up as being smoother. I still have about the same batter. But speaking of that, simply because this is a different angle than my brain is used to, I'm thinking about building a frame.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I always build, a frame.
You always build a frame?
Then I raise my line up. I go through and put a layer up about, all depends, maybe 10 or 12 inches, and I raise the line up again at both ends. Then when I build a frame, I put a string in the center.
Well, maybe we can build a frame here. Here you go, my friend. We can take 2 of these and
Wish
cut them
I
down.
was in
And we'll
Baltimore,
have 4-foot
sitting in a
sections
big
for the base,
armchair.
huh? We've got a 4-foot section sticking out over
Whiskey
a 48
jug,
inch
the other one
over a
around my
42 inch wall.
Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I know. Shady Grove, my
Is that
little
42
love,
corner to
bound
corner?
for Shady Grove.
Make it so.
Beaches in the summertime,
It's 4
apples
feet,
in
okay?
the
So I'll make a mark
fall.
there.
If I can't have the girl
Then at
I
that
love,
mark, pass me the
won't
measure.
have none at all.
So, if I'm at
Shady
48,
Grove, my little love,
and that's
Shady
at 4
Grove,
feet,
I know.
if we do that,
Shady Grove, my little love, bound for Shady Grove.
now how do you anchor the darn thing? I mean, you put it up vertical, then you put something, nail something to it on a diagonal?
Yeah, it keeps, because it's going to shift with you.
If I had a needle and thread as fine as I could sew, I'd sew that pretty girl to my side, and down the road I'd go.
See, the wall has got to be wider at the bottom and narrower at the top. Because you try to build this wall up straight with no mortar, it's going to have a tendency to kind of tumble down on you. But if you build it like this, it'll sort of stay in place.
I love this stuff. What a beautiful day it turned out to be. See, the day starts and it's freezing, and then when it gets to be 40, 45 degrees,
Oh yeah, once it gets 45.
you're rolling.
15 miles of mountain road, 20 miles of sand. Never I travel this road again, I'll be a married man.
There you go.
Shady Grove,
Yeah, okay, that's
my
good
little
right there.
love, Shady
Looking
Grove,
good?
I
Yeah.
say.
I'm going to tighten it up a little more.
Now
and
I'm
cinch it
going
off.
away.
Okay, well this is really, really satisfying, Charles. We got the frames built. I appreciate your help
okay.
with that. That's really good
Yeah.
because I never could have figured that out that
Yeah.
well on my own.
Uh-huh.
And now we've got line attached to the frame, and the frame, the outside of the frame is defining the outside of the wall that we're going to have,
Yes.
so that we can see the precise, do you call it batter?
Batter, yes.
The precise batter to have a wall 42 inches high where it's coming out of the ground, 42 inches wide,
Right.
and what do we say, 18 inches at the top?
At the top, 4 foot tall.
And so I guess what we do now is the thing to do would be to get this wall built basically to the level of this line as much as possible, as level as possible.
Level as possible.
In terms of what drives me, you can see on the completed wall that we're working on, that we're going to put the capstones on, that it's a very beautiful piece of work. And it was a big loose pile of rock, and now it's, you know, symmetrical and square, and it looks solid, and it is solid. You know, you could stand on top of it and walk the whole length of it, and rocks wouldn't fall off. And that's just that's just really a satisfying thing to do. It's art in a way. I mean, if you go look at stone walls that have been built by production guys who are building to a certain height, a certain dimension, and they're getting paid 18 bucks a foot, those guys are going to not worry about the foundation. They're throwing that rock up. But you can tell the difference between that and something where you're doing it because you love it, and every single rock is in place, you know, in a certain way. It's just a much more detailed. It becomes almost like a work of art, if you will, some kind of amateur work of art. It's not Michelangelo, but it's a creation that is created for its beauty. Your soldier boy will never forget the girl he left behind. Hurrah, hurrah, for the sunny side.
Irene, good night.
We've made a lot of progress on this wall since I set this iron stake last July. It's almost 48 inches tall here. This is going to be the top of the wall. We've been building this wall up course by course, raising these line levels on the outside of the frame every 8 to 10 inches and eyeballing the wall to match the outside level of the line as we have here. Now it's critically important as we get to the top to heart the wall, to continue always to put in rocks large and small into the top of the wall, tap them in place with the hammer, always with the idea that you are tightening up and filling and leaving no gaps in the wall.
Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dream.
Well, what I want to do here is get rid of these ailanthus trees. I mean, they're just a pestilence. And clean this out and rebuild the stone walls here on both sides of the pond. There's probably, what, 4 or 5 acres here. And it'd be a lot more productive if we had the wall built, and we'll plant some apple trees in here, some peach trees. Well, what we better do is knock off for the day, huh? We'll be back on it when the weather gets good.
Your wife and family, and stay by the fireside bright.
She's a tailor, so's my new blue jeans. My sweetheart, he's a drunkard, Lord God, way down.
that house down in New Orleans that they call that rising sun. That's 1 foot on the platform, 1 foot on the train. I'm going back down to New Orleans to wear my ball and my chain.
Well, we got a whole crew of people here tonight to have a capstone party where we're putting on the topping stones on the stone wall, cleaning up the area, and it's great because I've got about 20 people here working for free. We're picking up old rock, putting on capstones, cleaning out the old rebar, and in general getting it cleaned up. Then we're going to rake it smooth and plant some wildflowers, and then have some dinner and hang around in the barn. Good deal. Good to see you, man. Look at you. Like my wall?
It's hot times in the old town tonight. Yes, come and go with me down in old town tonight. Hot times in the old town tonight. Tie your boogie, tie your hack. I'm going down.
Yeah, this is about finishing the wall. Actually, it was nearly finished when we arrived, and now what we do is we put some gravel on top so that the capstones have more that they hold better. Yeah, and then we will clean it up so that the area will look very nice. So we put some stones on the bottom so that the water cannot bring all the dirt into the wall when it's raining, and then we clean it up and it will look very nice in the evening sun, I think.
I'm going down with razor, oh yes, in my hand. I'm going down looking for that man. It's hot times in old town, down in town tonight. Hot times in old town tonight.
My man, how are you, Jack? Good. Yeah. I think we'll, here, grab this end of it. And let's put it with this side facing. This side. Yeah. That's nice, right? If I were to die while building the stone wall, okay, it's a lot of exercise. You're lifting a heavy rock, you have a heart attack. Well, you know, you could get hit crossing the street too, and this is not particularly dangerous behavior, it's just hard, dirty work. But if I were to fall over while I was working on my stone wall, that's okay. You know, I'd rather fall over than in my, working on my stone wall than in my chair. All right, your attention please. I want to tell everybody how much I appreciate you coming over here for my little escapade of having a stone wall capping party, and everybody's help is really, really appreciated. And I know I'm going to invite you back all in the spring when all the flowers are blooming, and we'll see that the stone wall's still there. Thank you very much. Here, here. Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Well, I know he's been working on the stone wall for a long time. What other hobbies he's worked on, I'm not sure. But this stone wall is a good statue in memory of his efforts.
There you go. That's good, huh? That's a pretty good. That's pretty close. That's a pretty damn good wall, huh?
Well, they add so much to the land and the views, and it's the kind of thing that you will be reminded of every day when you come out and see it, each day, and you'll be rewarded every time you look at it because of what it adds.
Bob's always been interested in building things, and when he came out here, he just, the first week he was out here, he started building a wall, and I thought, you know, that's something I'll never finish, because it was you know, he's kind of lugging around, breaking his back, and, you know, but he loved it, and every time he had a chance, he came out here, and, you know, that's the way he relaxed, and he obviously figured out how to do it over the years. It probably took him about 10 years to figure out how to do it, but, you know, I think it's something that is good for his soul.
Well, I think there's a lot of history right around here with Ebenezer Church and things like that, that a lot of these walls that are out here were Civil War era type walls. So there's a lot of historic character to the area.
And these walls probably been here well way before the Civil War, and someplace they used them for defense. They'd get behind them for protection, and, you know, to shoot at one another and get behind these walls.
Well, Corey was just here by default because of me, and then my dad just kind of forced him to work, I guess.
Yeah, I'm obligated by associate. Years ago, remember? He said payment for hanging out with my daughter was working on the stone wall, and I didn't think he was serious, and then, well, next thing you know, I'm working on the stone wall.
I grew up listening to, like, Civil War music and stuff all the time.
Yeah,
just kind of background music, so.
Because of him, I went out and bought a Mississippi John Hurt CD and downloaded more of his best of on iTunes. And Blind, what's his name? Blind Lemon Jefferson. Yeah. Some other stuff.
He's goal-oriented, and I think this is a goal. And look at it. It's like the Great Wall of China.
I bet I have at least 5 miles of broken down stone wall, 5 linear miles of broken down stone wall, and I've made it about 1,500 feet that I've built, and maybe another 2,000 feet that I've had some guys build. So that leaves, by my estimation, about 4 miles of wall left. So many rocks, so little time.
Yeah.